Welcome to the Wife Stories YouTube channel. New video every day, and don't forget to subscribe. Here we go.
You ruined everything. Those were the first words I heard in the darkness, her voice low and strangled. I remember standing there with my face half buried in her pillow, breathing in the faint trace of her shampoo. It smelled like lavender and regret. I knew I should have felt disgusted, maybe even furious at myself for this pathetic impulse. But I couldn't stop. My fingers sank into the cotton, knuckles white, every breath reminding me of what used to be. And then I heard her behind me, accusing and sharp. "You ruined everything," she repeated, like a verdict. I froze, mouth going dry, and wondered how we got here. The truth is, I already knew. There was a time when her pillow smelled of us, of nights spent talking until dawn, of quiet Sunday mornings with coffee and bagels, of her laughter against my chest while the first light crept through the blinds. That was before I discovered how easily everything can break. My chest tightened, but I forced myself to straighten up. I wanted to speak, to respond with some witty barb, or maybe a righteous demand for an apology. But all I could do was stand there, pillow in hand, and stare at the silhouette of the woman I once thought I knew better than myself. She switched on the lamp by the door. A dull yellow glow pushed across the room, throwing pale shadows over the mess of sheets and the half-open closet. In that fractured, uneven light, I saw her face, jaw set, eyes red from either crying or lack of sleep. I couldn't decide which. Probably both. Her name is Jessica. She's my wife. Or she was, once upon a time. I remember the taste in my mouth. Bitter, metallic, like fear. Or maybe it was just old anger grinding against my tongue. I ruined everything. I repeated, almost in a whisper, as if my voice were on trial. But inside, I was boiling. The smell of her pillows still clung to my nostrils. That sweet, damning lavender. She didn't answer. For a moment, the silence stretched taut between us, ready to snap. Just socks, no shoes. He hesitated near the back gate, then stepped onto the lawn. He was tall, athletic, wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt, and socks. I remember thinking, who the hell walks around in socks in someone else's backyard? At that moment, he must have spotted me through the window. We locked eyes, and he bolted. Didn't even pause to say a word. He just tore across the grass, disappearing through the gate like a startled animal. I stood there dumbfounded, wooden spoon still in my hand, oatmeal dripping onto the linoleum. My heart hammered. My brain fired 1,000 questions at once, but only one stuck. Why? 15 minutes later, maybe 10, I don't recall exactly, Jessica descended the stairs. She wore the oversized flannel shirt I had bought her on a trip to Colorado. The one she always used to say smelled like me. Her hair was a tangled mess, her cheeks flushed. She looked at me with a little frown. "I can't find my phone," she said. I hadn't spoken since I'd seen the man in the backyard. I just stared at her, the spoon still in my hand, the oatmeal now congealing in the pot. Then, like it was the most natural thing in the world, I handed her the phone. The screen was still lit from the last message she'd read, and I couldn't help but notice the words, "I don't let my husband do me, but you can." I didn't breathe. She grabbed the phone from me, and I saw her face blanch. It was that second, right there, that changed everything. Her eyes flicked up to meet mine, horror blossoming in them. That was when she realized I knew. That was when I realized it was real. I wish I could say I roared at her or demanded an explanation. But I didn't. I said nothing. No outraged accusations, no tears. Because for some reason, the deeper the pain, the quieter I get. Any sound that I made right then felt like a betrayal of who I once was, a man who believed in loyalty and trust. She opened her mouth, searching for something, an excuse, an apology, an explanation. But nothing came out. Her lips formed silent shapes, and her breathing caught. The only thing I could hear was the faint bubbling of oatmeal on the stovetop. sizzling into a sticky burn. That was the moment I walked out the door. It was still early morning, still dark enough that the street lamps were on. I remember the chill in the air. I remember the hammered pulse in my chest. I left the stove on, the oatmeal burning, the phone in her hand. I left everything, and I ran. Back then, I never intended to keep running. But that night, while the world slept, I put on my sneakers and took off under the moonlight. Street after street, block after block. My mind churned, my legs burned. I ran until the houses blurred, until my eyes stung from cold wind, until my lungs felt raw. I ran from the man who wore only socks in my backyard. I ran from my wife, from the phone with the glowing screen, from everything. And somehow I never really stopped. Asterisk, 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 I blink in the dim bedroom light. The memory surges in me, raw as an exposed nerve. My heart thrums in my ears. Jessica stands near the doorway, arms crossed, refusing to meet my eyes. This is our old house, or what's left of it. She's in it. I'm here temporarily. 3 years have passed since that morning, but it feels like yesterday. Outside, night presses against the window. That same hush of shadows, that same leftover sorrow. 3 years without sleeping under this roof. 3 years spent in anonymous apartments or on the road for my job. Anything to avoid returning to this place. She's tried everything to bring me back, from phone calls and messages to letters describing how sorry she is. And I've resisted. Yet now, ironically, I'm here, standing in the old bedroom, sniffing her pillow like a fool who can't let go. She shifts her weight from one foot to the other and repeats, quietly this time, "You ruined everything." I let out a short, bitter laugh. Me, right. Sure. Silence wraps around us like a shroud. She doesn't approach, doesn't move closer. We face each other across the bed, that massive gulf of undone sheets and broken trust. And I'm thinking about how the same bed once felt so warm, so intimate, where we'd share lazy mornings, where I'd watch her read and tuck her feet under my leg. Now it's just a stage for replays of betrayal. Before I can say anything more, she turns on her heel and disappears downstairs. My chest tightens in an old familiar ache. I follow, though each step creaks like it might shatter. The house is too quiet, except for the low hum of the fridge in the kitchen. I find her in the living room, arms wrapped around herself, eyes on the floor. A single lamp casts a cone of light on the coffee table. The rest of the space is swallowed by gloom, edges of furniture half lost in shadow. I notice she's wearing an old sweater, possibly one that used to be mine. It stretches around her slim frame, sleeves trailing past her wrists. Something inside me twists. She looks at me. For a moment, I see a spark of the woman I married, gentle, anxious, wanting to fix things. Then it flickers out. She lifts her chin. "Why are you here?" she asks. I swallow. "You asked me to come." She scowls. "I didn't think you actually would." I guess I surprised us both. We lock eyes again. Hers brim with too many emotions to name. Guilt, anger, heartbreak. She's the one who betrayed me, but it's as if she's accusing me of letting it happen. Maybe that's the nature of guilt. It can twist itself into anything. I clench my fists, letting the tension roll over my shoulders. "You said you wanted to talk," I say. "So talk." She opens her mouth, hesitates. A small breath escapes her lips. "He's gone," she says, voice trembling. I ended it. 3 years too late, I want to say. But the words get trapped in my throat. I remember his face, or what little I saw of it, in that half-second of eye contact through the kitchen window. I saw enough. The stubble on his chin, the tension in his jaw, the flicker of panic in his eyes when he realized he'd been caught. And especially, I remember those socks. Now Jessica's telling me it's over, that she ended it. 1,000 retorts swirl in my head. She might as well tell me it's been raining outside, like it's obvious, or it's supposed to matter. My knuckles tighten, nails biting into my palms. "Why did you bring me here?" I ask. If you ended it, fine. I'm not your confessor. She looks away. I need you to know I'm sorry. I need you to know it wasn't all a lie. All. She straightens her back and draws a shaky breath, her hands trembling at her sides. Us, she whispers. What we had. It was real, David. I flinch at the sound of my name. For a moment, I almost believe her. Memories flash through my mind. Her stepping out of the shower, warm and smiling, arms reaching for me. The laughter we shared while driving up through the Rockies. The quiet nights reading together. It used to feel so solid. But betrayal rots everything it touches. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. I remember the first time I confronted her about the text I saw. It was the same night I left for that run. I came back, stupidly, I guess, because I wanted answers. I found her in the kitchen, tears streaking her face. The tension in the air was like a thunderstorm about to break. She tried to explain, stumbling over words about feeling lonely, needing something new, not knowing how to tell me. And I remember that I couldn't speak. There was a tightness in my throat, an ache behind my eyes, but no tears came. She tried to touch me, tried to lay her hand on my arm. I jerked away, as if her skin might burn me. That's when she told me his name was Rick, that she met him at a local fitness group, that it just happened. As though cheating is an unplanned accident that sneaks up on you while you're not paying attention. I asked how many times. She didn't answer. That silence told me enough. And that's when I turned on my heel and walked out the door for good. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk now, years later, here I am again. Different night, different hush of the house, but the same ache in my chest. She's saying she's sorry, that she wants forgiveness, that she ends up having a breakdown every time I set foot in this city. She's told me so in letters and messages, each one making me feel both guilty and vindicated. But I've grown numb to it. My phone buzzes in my pocket. I ignore it. Probably my boss checking if I'll be at the Monday meeting. Or my mother, wanting to know if I've made peace. Or absolutely no one at all. Honestly, I don't care. All that matters is the hush in this room and the woman in front of me, trembling beneath the lamp's glow. I take a step closer. She doesn't move back. You're not wearing socks, I say, my voice coming out more accusatory than I intended. She blinks, looks down at her bare feet. Then she gives a short laugh, rough and humorless. I gave them to him, your socks. He liked them. He wore them that morning. I feel a jolt deep inside, like a punch to the gut. It's not just some random pair of socks. They were mine. The man was literally walking in my shoes, or my socks anyway. My jaw clenches. My breath hitches. The air feels too thick. He used to say your socks were comfortable. She adds in a bitter monotone, as if she's confessing some monstrous sin. Maybe in her mind she's seeking atonement, or maybe she's punishing me. I close my eyes for half a second. My head is pounding. Why the hell would you tell me that now? I ask. There's a thin, sharp edge to my voice that I barely recognize. She shrugs, eyes shining with unshed tears. I don't know. Maybe I need you to hate me enough so I can let you go. That's a twisted logic, but I can't deny it hits home. Hate her. I once loved this woman with all my heart. But maybe hatred is just love that's rotted from the inside out. Outside, the wind picks up. I can hear the rustle of branches scraping against the side of the house. A street lamp outside flickers, casting shifting patterns of light and shadow through the window. It reminds me of the night I first took off running. Then, too, the wind hissed in the trees, as though scolding me for being too blind to see the betrayal sooner. She steps away from the lamp's glow, receding into the half-dark of the living room. Her profile looks tired, older than I remember. We're not the same people we were. 3 years can change everything, and nothing at all. I let out a breath. So this is what you wanted to tell me. I say, half spitting the words, that he wore my socks. She laughs, A short, pained sound that breaks in the middle. Maybe, or maybe I just wanted you to see me. Her voice cracks. I wanted you to look at me the way you used to. I wanted a chance to make it right. Make it right. My voice rises, surprising even myself with the sudden force behind it. Do you think you can fix it by handing me some confession? By telling me it's over with him? That doesn't erase what happened. She flinches. Good, I think. Let her feel some fraction of this anger that's hollowed me out for years. We stare at each other in the gloom. My pulse is racing, my hands shaking. For so long, I've been numb. Running from city to city, job to job, never letting myself slow down enough to feel. But now, the numbness cracks, and something raw seeps through. Something that might be rage or heartbreak, or both. Tell me what you want from me, Jessica. The words come out like a challenge. She hesitates, steps forward. I can smell her perfume. Lavender. The same as on her pillow. I want you to look at me again, she says, voice trembling. The way you did before all this. I want you to forgive me. To come back. To let us be real again. I let out a bitter, rasping laugh. You want me to be the man who believed in you. The man who ate oatmeal with you in the morning. The man who'd never imagine you in my socks with some guy sneaking out the backyard. That man is gone. She chokes on a sob. I see her shoulders quake. My own eyes burn, though no tears come. And there we stand, two people destroyed by one secret, one betrayal. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The memories swirl again, cutting in and out. The night I caught her phone glowing with that message. I don't let my husband do me. But you can. Those words etched into my brain like a brand. The day I packed my bags and left her crying in the doorway. My father's voice over the phone, heavy with disappointment, telling me to come home if I needed a place to clear my head. The lonely months in a cheap studio apartment, the noise of neighbors partying on weekends, the hollow ring of emptiness when I turned the key at night. The letters she sent, page after page of apologies, confessions, pleas. I read them all once, then shoved them into a box I never opened again. The day my mother found me out on the old track near my high school, running laps until my knees nearly gave out, sweat pouring into my eyes. She asked me what I was doing, and I told her I was trying not to feel. She just nodded and said, "Everyone has a limit. Don't break yourself." 3 years. That's how long it's been since I looked Jessica in the eye. Now she stands there in the half-dark, tears streaking her cheeks, wearing a sweater that used to be mine and telling me I ruined everything. Maybe I did. Maybe I gave her no reason to stay loyal. Or maybe she just found something new and thrilling in the arms of a man who wasn't tied to her the way I was. I feel my heart pound as a fresh wave of rage surges through me. I remember the man's face. The lover, Rick. The scraps of details I learned about him from mutual acquaintances, a sports trainer, a marketing consultant for gyms. Handsome, cocky. The type who never had trouble finding women to fill his nights. Jessica's voice rattles me out of my thoughts. I know you think I'm asking too much, she says quietly. But I cut her off, my tone ice cold. Stop. Just stop. She wraps her arms around herself as if trying to hold her body together. We both stand there, locked in this silent battle. The clock on the wall ticks softly, the only evidence that time is still moving. Part of me hates her for what she did. Another part hates myself for not seeing the signs. Another part still loves her. And that might be the worst piece of all. You want to talk about him? I demand suddenly. Fine. Let's talk. Tell me what he did that was so special, so thrilling you had to. Don't. She pleads, eyes wide. So thrilling you had to throw away our marriage for a cheap rush. My voice crackles with anger. Tell me. Enlighten me. She's crying now, silent tears, jaw clenched. It wasn't cheap, she manages through her sobs. I snort. Could have fooled me. She closes her eyes. I was lonely, she whispers, trembling. You were always gone. working, running, shutting me out. You didn't talk to me anymore. You barely looked at me. I started feeling invisible. I freeze, my mind replaying the months leading up to the affair. The nights I came home late, too exhausted from the corporate grind to do anything but collapse on the couch. The weekends I spent training for marathons or half marathons, telling her, I need this to clear my head. The times she tried to talk, but I was too lost in my own thoughts to answer. Anger bristles inside me, but it's mixed with guilt, swirling into a toxic brew. And so you found comfort with some guy who does push-ups for a living. I hiss, is that it? She flinches. It wasn't like that. She insists, though her voice quavers. He listened to me. He made me feel seen. I know it was wrong. I know I betrayed you. But for a moment, I felt alive again. I grit my teeth. My nails dig into my palms so hard it hurts. Alive, I echo, bitterness dripping from my voice. She nods, tears still streaming. Yes, she whispers. I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. The laugh that escapes me is hollow, stripped of warmth. You never wanted to hurt me, I repeat. Yet here we are. Asterisk, 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 we stand at this impasse, the lamp flickering behind me. I can almost hear the gears in her head turning, searching for some magic phrase that might soothe the gaping wound between us. But there isn't one. Betrayal doesn't vanish with a few words. It lingers in every memory, every corner of the house, every thread of clothing. It's in the burnt oatmeal on the stove I left that morning. I sense her stepping closer. The air thickens with tension. Her eyes flick to my mouth, and I realize she might be on the verge of doing something desperate, like kissing me, trying to cling to some remnant of the past. My pulse thuds in my temples. I'm not sure if I'd push her away or let it happen. My mind says push her away. My body, with all its lonely hunger, wavers. A creak of wood from the front porch snaps the moment. Something brushes against the outside wall, maybe a stray branch in the wind. Jessica tenses, her gaze shooting toward the window. For a moment, we're both on edge, as if the house itself is watching us. But we're alone. She rubs her arms, goosebumps forming on her skin. It's cold, she mutters. I'll turn up the heat. I watch her walk across the room. My eyes trace her movements, familiar and foreign at the same time. Once, I used to know her body better than my own. Now there's a chasm. She's a stranger wearing the face of someone I loved. She fiddles with the thermostat, then stands there, staring at the blank wall as if it might hold answers. I wait, my mind spinning. Part of me wants to leave, to slam the door and never look back. Another part wants closure, maybe revenge. For 3 years I avoided her, punishing her with absence. But what if I need something else, something final, to truly break free of this? I think of the man, Rick. If I had to guess, he's probably out there somewhere, living a carefree life, hopping from one fling to the next. No guilt, no regrets. That's the type he seemed to be. Another wave of anger surges, accompanied by a powerful desire to show him what it means to cross a man's boundary. But he's not here. And punching a wall or storming into the night isn't going to fix anything. My gaze lands on Jessica's phone, lying on the coffee table. I recall the glaring text from years ago. I don't let my husband do me, but you can. Those words still cut deep. My hands clench, my breath catches. I wonder if she's cleaned up her phone's messages, or if the ghosts of their affair still linger in some corner of her memory. Because it sure as hell still lingers in mine. She turns around and sees me staring. Her expression tightens. David? I don't answer. Instead, I step forward and pick up the phone. She takes a shaky breath, hugging her arms to her chest. What are you? Do you still have his number? I ask, voice low. She doesn't answer immediately. Her brows knit. Yes, she finally says, almost apologetically. I haven't spoken to him in a long time, but yes. I nod, a wry smile twisting my lips. Figures. My hand trembles as I place the phone back down. Something about that final tie between them ignites a fresh spark of resentment in me. I came here, I say slowly, because you begged me. Wrote letters, called me, told me you were standing in the backyard in my old socks, waiting for me too. What exactly? She lifts her gaze. Waiting for you to come back, she says, voice tight. I've been waiting for 3 years, hoping I could see you one more time. Hoping. She trails off, her eyes shining with tears again. I don't speak. My mind chases the memory of her final letter, describing how she stands in the backyard at night, thinking about me, wearing my socks like a penance. At the time, I thought it was a manipulative tactic, and maybe it was. But seeing her now, broken, clinging to any scrap of my presence, it rattles me. It triggers some old protective instinct, the same one that once made me rush to her side whenever she was upset, but I push it down. I can't be that man again. Not after everything that's happened. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The scene shifts in my mind, and I'm back to the day I discovered the truth. The man in socks, the phone screen, the run at night. Jessica standing in the kitchen wearing my flannel shirt, the one from Colorado. Her hair still messy from him. I close my eyes, trying to block the image, but it's burned into my retinas. The quiet moan I heard when I crept upstairs that morning, thinking it was just my wife stirring in her sleep. The slight murmur of voices I dismissed as the TV left on. Was that him? Was I an idiot to assume everything was normal? Something inside me shatters all over again. My body tenses, a snarl building in my chest. She notices the shift. What is it? She whispers. I open my eyes, pin her with a glare. You want to know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking about how you moaned for him in our bed while I was downstairs making you breakfast. She pales. David. I'm thinking about how he walked out of here, wearing my Dan socks, in the early dawn, like some stray cat slinking away after a meal. And I'm thinking about how I felt that day, how I feel right now. Her face twists in pain. I'm sorry, she says for the 100th time, voice hoarse. I let out a ragged breath, force my gaze away. My fists shake at my sides, the nails biting into my palms again. The lamp in the corner flickers. Outside, a dog barks in the distance. The tension in the room is suffocating, thick as tar. She steps closer, her feet making almost no sound on the carpet. I hurt you in ways I can't take back, she says softly. I know that, but I need you to hear me. I never stopped loving you, even when I was doing that with him. Some part of me never let you go. That's twisted, I mutter. She nods, tears clinging to her lashes. It is. But love can be twisted. I lost myself. I lost us. I've paid for it every day since. I shake my head, unable to process her words. My mind flickers to my time on the road, hotels, lonely nights, the punishing routine of runs that left my legs and lungs scorched. Was I any better? I never cheated physically, but I shut her out, froze my heart, replaced emotional intimacy with miles of asphalt. Maybe we both destroyed each other in slow increments. She takes another step. I can almost feel her heat, sense her trembling. I want to shove her away, but I can't move. My throat tightens, my chest aches. David, she whispers, we can't keep living like ghosts. Either we try to fix what's left, or we end it for good. End it, I echo. The words taste bitter in my mouth. She lifts a shaky hand, hovering near my cheek, but not quite touching. Is that what you want? I stare at that trembling hand, my vision blurring with something that might be tears. A swirl of memories floods me. The question is simple, but loaded with more weight than I can handle right now. What do I want? I want to forget the betrayal. I want to go back in time and find the moment we drifted apart and fix it. I want to punish her for breaking my trust. I want to hold her again, bury my face in her hair, and pretend it never happened. I want to track down that bastard Rick and beat him senseless, but that wouldn't change a thing. Asterisk, 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 I sense a shift in the air, an internal clock winding us toward a turning point. Maybe it's the hush of the house or the swirl of old memories that hits me like an undertow, pulling me toward an inevitable confrontation. Because at some point, all the anger in the world can't change what's done. The lamp flickers one last time, and I realize it's time to lay it all on the table. I speak in a low, measured tone, like I'm on a police interrogation tape. Tell me about that last time. I say, the last time you were with him. She stiffens, eyes going wide. Why? Because I need to know, I press. I need it out in the open. She looks down, hugging her arms around her midsection. We were in that bedroom, she starts, voice quivering. The morning you saw him run. That was the last time. I clench my jaw, forcing myself not to flinch. She keeps going, haltingly, like she's reading a confession. He showed up after his shift at the gym. I let him in. He followed me upstairs. I don't want to give you graphic details, David. My stomach churns, but I push forward. He wore my socks. I say, the words tasting like venom. She nods. He grabbed a pair from the laundry. Said he didn't want to walk barefoot. She swallows. Afterward, I heard you downstairs. I panicked. I told him to leave through the backyard. And you saw him. That's the truth. My heart throbs with raw fury, humiliation, heartbreak. My breath comes faster, ragged. Her face glistens with tears, but I can't muster pity. I'm drowning in my own swirling emotions. I let the silence stretch, each second driving nails deeper into my chest. Then, carefully, I nod. Thank you. I manage, voice barely audible. For telling me. She exhales a shuddering breath. That's all of it. I rake a hand through my hair. My mind pounds, spinning in dark circles. But amid all that darkness, a small pinprick of clarity emerges. I realize I have a choice. Either let this define me forever, or find a way to purge it from my life. Asterisk, 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 we stand there, the tension so thick you could slice it. Then I turn away, moving to the front door. She makes a small, desperate sound, like a wounded animal. David? My hand closes on the doorknob, and for a second I feel the cold metal biting into my palm. If I walk out now, is that the end? Is that my revenge? My final statement? Or is there something else I need to do or say to truly break free? Slowly, I pivot back to face her. My heart feels like it's in a vice grip, each beat a painful squeeze. Her tear-streaked cheeks glisten in the dim light. A pang of something shoots through me. Love? Hate? Maybe both. Do you remember, I say quietly, the morning we first moved in here? We ate oatmeal on the floor because the furniture hadn't arrived yet. She blinks, tears shimmering. Yes, she whispers. I steel myself. I remember thinking that was the happiest day of my life. You wearing my old sweatshirt, me feeling like the luckiest man on earth. Her breath hitches. I remember. I let out a slow exhale. That was real, Jessica. You say not everything was a lie. I believe you. But so was your betrayal. She nods, voice trembling. Yes. My gaze drifts around the living room, the silhouettes of furniture in half-light. Memories swirl in every corner. I'm not that man anymore, I say, voice low. And you're not the same woman. So what do we have left? She stares at me with glistening eyes, silent. The question hangs in the air like an echo. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The next few hours blur into a kaleidoscope of confrontations, confessions, tears, silences. It's as though 3 years of pent-up feelings tumble out in jagged fragments. 1 minute, I'm telling her how humiliated I felt, how worthless I felt, how I blamed myself for not being enough. The next minute, she's sobbing about her own insecurities, her guilt, her longing for me to see her again. We're pacing the house, raising voices one moment, speaking in hushed undertones the next. Sometimes we speak over each other. Sometimes we break off mid-sentence, lost in thought. At some point, we end up in the backyard. The night air is cold, the grass damp beneath our feet. She's barefoot, no socks. A porch light casts a pale glow across the lawn. This is the same yard where I saw him run away that morning. My stomach knots at the memory. She stands near the spot where the grass meets the wooden fence, hugging herself against the chill. "After you left," she says, voice muffled by the wind, "I came out here every morning, imagining you'd come back. And then, about a month later, I realized you wouldn't. That's when I started wearing your socks, just to feel close to you." The wind nips at my neck. I say nothing, letting her words drift around us like scattered leaves. She turns to me, tears dry but eyes shining with remorse. "Sometimes I'd stay out here until midnight, hoping you'd appear at the gate, just once, just to tell me." "I don't know. Tell me anything." A lump forms in my throat. For all this time, I pictured her living happily with that other guy. But maybe that ended quickly. Maybe she was left with regret. I don't know. I'm not sure it changes anything, but the thought that she waited stirs a twisted mix of sympathy and bitterness. I run a hand across the wooden fence, feeling its rough texture, the same fence that man slipped through. My mind conjures his face again, the panic in his eyes when he realized I was standing in the kitchen. For a split second, I wonder what I'd do if he stood here now. Jessica's voice catches. "I know I don't deserve it, but please. Can you forgive me?" Silence. My heart hammers, the final confrontation I've been avoiding. Forgiveness. Is that what this is all about? I step toward her, each breath stinging in the cold. She tilts her head up, eyes pleading. I can smell her hair, that familiar lavender. And for a moment, I recall the countless nights we spent under these stars, holding each other close, before everything fell apart. I open my mouth to speak, but nothing comes out. The wind rustles the trees, and a hush settles between us like a fragile bubble. My mind seethes with memories, regrets, shattered hopes. Then, quietly, I say, I can't forget. But maybe someday I can forgive. She lets out a broken sob, covering her face with her hands. "That's more than I deserve," she whispers. I look at her, wanting to feel triumphant or relieved. Instead, I feel hollow, drained. Maybe forgiveness won't arrive fully tonight, but I've at least named it. There's no going back. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. We end up back inside, the hours creeping toward dawn. The entire night has been a blur of truths, tears, confessions, and now, as the first hint of gray touches the sky, I sense the final scene drawing near. Our old bedroom stands upstairs, a silent witness to everything that's happened. The hallway light flickers behind me as I lean against the wall, exhaustion in every muscle. Jessica stands in front of me, arms at her sides. We both look worn down, undone by the night's revelations. Yet there's a strange calm that settles over us, like a storm that's finally rained itself out. She swallows, voice hoarse. "Will you stay?" I let out a breath, close my eyes. "I don't know." Her lips quiver. "I want to fix us. I want." Stop wanting for a second. I cut in, surprising myself with the force of my words. She recoils, but I soften my tone. "Let's not talk about tomorrow or next week. Let's deal with right now." She nods, eyes lowered. Silence lingers. Then she tries again. "Do you want coffee? Or something to eat?" My stomach churns at the thought of food, but I appreciate the gesture. "Coffee." I relent. She disappears into the kitchen, leaving me leaning against the wall in the dim hallway. My eyes wander over the photos we once hung there. Pictures from our wedding, from trips to the mountains, from that awkward holiday party with my parents. I notice that some frames are missing, probably stowed away in a drawer to avoid daily reminders. Minutes later, she returns with 2 mugs of coffee, steam curling into the stale air. She offers me one, and I take it, though my hands tremble slightly. We sip in silence. Hers is black. Mine has a splash of milk. She remembered how I like it. We drift into the living room. The lamp in the corner is still on, casting a soft glow. I glance at the clock. 4:06 a.m. My entire body feels heavy. I sink onto the couch, and Jessica sits on the opposite end. We maintain a careful distance, as if an invisible fault line runs between us. She exhales shakily, sets her mug on the table. "Tell me how you've been," she whispers. I almost laugh. "How do you think?" She nods, biting her lip. "I mean, where did you stay? Were you okay? Were you alone?" Her voice cracks on the last question. I stare at my mug, the coffee rippling slightly from my unsteady hand. I lived in a small apartment for a year, then took a job that had me traveling a lot. I ran marathons. I guess I was trying to outrun my thoughts. I pause, bracing myself. Sometimes I was alone. Sometimes I wasn't. But it never lasted. Pain flickers in her eyes. She nods, as if acknowledging a wound she can't complain about. After all, she was the first to betray. Maybe we're even now, in some twisted cosmic scale. She shifts her gaze to me. "Did you ever love someone else?" I swallow. The directness of the question stings. No, I couldn't. I tried to connect once or twice. But something in me always pulled away. She closes her eyes, tears shimmering again. "I'm so sorry." I don't respond. We're beyond that phrase now. Asterisk, 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 time crawls forward. The city outside starts to wake, the faint hum of traffic creeping into the stillness. My chest feels heavy with exhaustion, emotional and physical. We sit there, half lost in our own thoughts. Eventually, she dozes off, her head drooping to the side. I watch her for a moment, the gentle rise and fall of her shoulders. This is the woman who broke me, and who still, in some fractured way, holds a piece of my heart. A wave of tenderness tries to surface, warring with my anger and pain. I set my mug on the table, stand up, and walk to the window. The sky is pale now, streaks of pink and orange creeping over the horizon. I recall how I used to watch the sunrise with her by my side. We talk about the future, about the family we hope to have one day. Now that future feels like a distant dream. I sense a stirring behind me. I turn and see her awake, blinking groggily. Her eyes focus on me, and for a second, we just look at each other in the silence. "Are you leaving?" she asks, voice cracked with drowsiness. I swallow. "Not yet," I say, surprising myself. My heart thuds. She sits up, rubbing her eyes. Her hair is tousled, reminiscent of better mornings, mornings without betrayal. My chest clenches. "David," she begins quietly, "I don't expect you to trust me again. But can we at least try to find some closure? Something that doesn't leave us both in pieces." I cross my arms, leaning against the window frame. "Closure," I echo, the word tasting like ashes. She stands, taking hesitant steps toward me. Her expression is serious, vulnerable. "I know I failed you. I'm asking for a chance to either fix what's broken or end it peacefully. Because this limbo is killing me." I stare at her. Part of me wants to lash out, call her a hypocrite, remind her of all the nights I spent alone, consumed by agony. But maybe that's pointless. Maybe it's time to decide, to choose a path, and see it through. Finally, I nod. "All right." She blinks, uncertain. "All right. What?" I sigh, running a hand over my face. "All right. Let's try. Not to get back what we had, because that's gone, but to see if something else can exist, or if we're just fooling ourselves." Her shoulders sag with relief. She nods, tears glossing her eyes. "Okay," she whispers. "Okay." I keep my gaze fixed on her, but don't expect it to be easy. Don't expect me to be the same man. I won't pretend I'm not angry. She swallows. "I understand." We fall into silence again. The tension slightly eased but still present. Then, finally, she steps closer. "Thank you," she murmurs, voice trembling. "I know you have every reason to hate me." I hold up a hand. "Stop. Don't say that. This isn't about hate anymore." I let out a long breath. "It's about seeing if I can live with what you did, and if you can live with my resentment." A shaky nod. "Yes." I exhale, looking away. The ache in my chest is still there, dull and persistent. But maybe this is how we move forward. One uncertain step at a time. A week passes. I rent a small place nearby, not ready to move back in with her. We meet a few times, exchanging halting conversations, trying to figure out if there's a path that doesn't lead to bitterness. I keep running in the mornings, letting my feet pound the pavement, each stride an attempt to outrun the old pain. Sometimes she shows up unannounced, and we share a tense coffee or a meal. Always watching each other, searching for sincerity. Trust is a fragile thing. Rebuilding it is like trying to glue together shards of glass. I still dream about that morning. The man in socks, the phone screen, her flannel shirt. The images replay, sometimes morph into nightmares where I run forever, but never escape. My resentment hasn't gone away, but it's less explosive now, like glowing embers instead of an all-consuming fire. She's trying. I see that in small gestures. The way she asks about my work, the way she offers to pick up groceries. She's careful not to push. Our conversations remain guarded, but genuine. I tell her about my travels, the places I saw, the people I met. She listens, tears sometimes filling her eyes when she realizes how far away I went, physically and emotionally. 2 weeks become 3. Autumn leaves scatter on the sidewalks, the air crisp. One evening, she invites me to the house for dinner. I hesitate, memories swirling of the last meal we ever shared there. Eventually, I agree. Stepping inside feels like stepping into the past. I notice the faint smell of lavender mixed with something else, maybe roast chicken from the kitchen. Candles flicker on the table. She's wearing a simple dress, her hair pinned back. She looks nervous, fiddling with the napkins. I recall that anxious energy from our first dates, back when everything was fresh and full of promise. We eat in near silence. The food tastes good, but my stomach is tight, my mind churning with worry. She's quiet too, eyes downcast. Afterward, we clear the plates, place them in the sink. As I rinse a dish, I feel her presence behind me. She touches my shoulder lightly. "David." I turn, water dripping from my hands. She swallows hard, gazing up at me. There's fear in her eyes, and longing. "Do you still want me to stay in your life?" Her voice cracks. "Or am I just pretending?" I look at her, heart pounding. Without fully thinking, I lean in, pressing my forehead to hers. She inhales sharply, and for a moment, we just breathe together, eyes closed. "I don't know," I whisper, honesty stinging like salt in a wound. "But I'm trying." She nods, tears slipping down her cheeks. My hands, still wet from the sink, rest on her shoulders, and I feel her tremble. We stand there, suspended in a fragile moment, neither of us certain if we're making the right choice. She tilts her face up, and I sense the familiar warmth of her breath. It's been so long since I've been this close. My heart thuds, confusion tangling with a raw, aching desire. Is this what I want? Her lips brush mine, tentative, trembling. 1,000 memories flood me at once. Her taste, her scent, the way she used to fit perfectly in my arms. My entire body tenses, torn between wanting this and fearing it. I pull back slightly, breath ragged. She meets my gaze, eyes flooded with vulnerability. "I'm sorry," she whispers, tears trailing down her face. "I shouldn't have." I hush her with a gentle press of my hand against her cheek. I'm shaking, adrenaline surging through me. Anger and longing wage war inside my chest. My lips move of their own accord, returning her kiss, a small desperate gesture that tastes like heartbreak and hope all at once. She sighs into it, arms slipping around my neck. For a second, I let myself surrender. I let the memory of who we were override the pain of who we became. Our bodies remember the closeness, the old rhythms. Heat flushes through me, intense and disorienting. Then a flash of him crosses my mind. Rick, wearing my socks, his hands on her skin. I stiffen, break away, stumbling back as though burned. She looks at me with alarm, tears brimming again. I can't, I rasp, wiping my mouth as if I tasted betrayal. Not yet. She nods, biting her lip, tears rolling silently. Okay. We both stand there, gasping like runners at the end of a brutal race. The tension pulses, but so does the old familiarity. It's a messed up contradiction. Part of me wants to drag her upstairs, reclaim what was mine. Another part wants to run out the door again and never look back. We settle for neither. Instead, we linger in the kitchen until our breathing steadies, until the candles burn low. I leave that night, adrenaline still pounding through my veins, the ghost of her lips lingering on mine. Winter arrives in a blur of frosted windows and early nightfall. I keep up my sporadic visits, half committed to seeing if we can find closure or some semblance of a renewed connection. We talk more freely now, sharing the anger, the regrets. I lay it all out, my shame, my sense of not being enough, my fear that she'll do it again. She listens, tears in her eyes, repeating that she's changed, that she'll do anything to prove it. One night, during a heavy snowstorm, she calls me. Her voice sounds shaky. The power's out, she says. I'm alone in the dark. Can you? I pause, the old resentment rearing up. She chose to be alone. I tell myself. She made this bed. Let her lie in it. But something in me softens. Maybe it's the memory of all those winter nights we huddled together. I sigh. I'm coming. When I arrive, the house is wrapped in darkness, lit only by the faint glow of streetlights filtering through the snow. She opens the door, bundled in a blanket, hair damp from melted flakes. I stomp the snow off my boots and step inside. Candlelight flickers in the living room, dancing over her features. She looks both relieved and uncertain. Thank you, she says softly. I nod, shrug off my coat. The air inside is chilly. Let's check the breaker. We fumble around, me with a flashlight, flipping switches. No luck. The entire block is out, apparently. She stands close, breath fogging in the cold air. I can feel the tension of her body, the quiet plea for comfort. Eventually, we settle in the living room, a couple of candles illuminating the space. She shivers under the blanket. Without speaking, I sit beside her and drape part of it over my lap. The closeness sparks all those old sensations, her warmth, her scent. We try to make small talk, but it doesn't last. You used to hold me like this, she murmurs, voice trembling. I stare at the faint shadows on the wall. Yes. She tucks her knees to her chest. A candle flickers, lighting up her face. Do you think you'll ever hold me again? Truly. My throat constricts. I don't know. Her shoulders slump. She nods, tears glistening in the candlelight. Okay. Silence falls. The snow outside intensifies, swirling under the street lamps. I feel her trembling next to me, not just from the cold, but from raw emotion. Slowly, almost involuntarily, I slip an arm around her shoulders, pulling her against me. She exhales shakily, resting her head on my chest. My heart pounds with conflicting emotions, the warmth of her body, the echo of betrayal still lodged in my brain. But for this moment, I let her in. I let her hear my heartbeat. Because maybe that's the only way forward, piece by piece, breath by breath, step by uncertain step. We stay like that for a long time, letting the house remain dark and silent, the storm raging outside. Time marches on. The more we talk, the more I realize that beneath all the anger and heartbreak, there's still a love that never fully died. It's bruised, warped, but it's there. Whether that love can mend or not remains to be seen. She's patient, cautious, offering me space when I need it. And I'm trying to control the flashbacks of him, the creeping jealousy. I even throw out the pairs of socks that remind me of him. She doesn't argue. Slowly, we begin to share small moments. Breakfast at the old table, a Sunday walk through the neighborhood, the odd inside joke that makes us smile. It's not the same. It never will be. But it's something. I get a call from a friend who says he's seen Rick around town. The man is apparently bragging about a new gym contract, living his best life. The news triggers a fresh wave of resentment in me. He gets to walk free of consequences. But I remind myself that chasing him down won't solve anything. I channel that anger into another run, pounding the pavement until my muscles scream. Jessica notices my frustration. One evening, she softly says, "You can talk to me if you're upset." I give her a measured look. I'm upset that he walked away unscathed. And here we are, sifting through the wreckage. She nods, sadness shadowing her features. I don't know what to say. There's nothing to say. She reaches for my hand, and I let her take it. The gesture is simple, but it sparks a warmth I've missed. That might be the closest we come to comfort. Months pass, and winter yields to spring. The thaw outside mirrors a subtle thought in my heart. I notice how she's changed, less self-absorbed, more genuine in her concern for me. She's taken on extra freelance work to help with bills, focusing on constructive ways to rebuild her life. Meanwhile, I stop living like a nomad and settle into a stable routine. We talk about a slow reconciliation. Neither of us is sure if we'll ever fully restore what was lost, but we're not ready to give up. At some point, she suggests couples counseling. I hesitate, pride flaring. But then I remember that I used to be willing to do anything for us. So I agree, albeit reluctantly. We find a therapist who specializes in marital issues. It's uncomfortable at first, talking to a stranger about the socks, and the phone, and the betrayal. But slowly, we unpack the layers. Through these sessions, I unearth my own flaws, the ways I shut down emotionally, the ways I neglected our relationship. She confesses her own insecurities, her hunger for attention, her fear of being unloved. It's messy, raw, and some days I leave the therapist's office furious, wanting to slam the door on all of it. But I keep coming back, because maybe I do love her still. Maybe I want to see if we can build something from the ruins. Therapy helps me see that my desire for revenge might be a way of protecting myself from the vulnerability of forgiving. Holding on to anger is easier than risking trust. One rainy afternoon, the therapist asks me, "What would real revenge look like to you?" I pause, brows furrowed. Then I say, maybe walking away forever, letting her regret it for the rest of her life. Or maybe humiliating her the way she humiliated me. I glance at Jessica, who looks down, tears slipping from her eyes. My jaw clenches, but I push forward. But I don't think that's who I am. I don't want to become bitter. I just want to be free. The therapist nods. Forgiveness might set you free, if you're willing to risk it. After the session, Jessica and I walk through the parking lot in the drizzle. She clings to my arm, as if afraid I'll vanish. The gray sky mirrors our mood. I sighed, tired. "What do you think?" I asked softly. She presses her lips together, eyes watery. "I want to do whatever it takes for you to trust me. I'll spend my life proving I'm worthy if I have to." I swallow hard. That's a tall order. She nods, voice trembling. "I know." Slowly, like a muscle that's been torn and is now healing. Trust begins to mend, fragile as spun glass. I can't pinpoint the exact moment, but one day I realize my resentment toward her is less suffocating. I still have flashes of anger, but they pass more quickly. Our conversations deepen. We share the mundane details of our days, plus the deeper fears about the future. We fall into a kind of uneasy peace. Some nights, I stay over. Others, I need my space. She respects that. When we do share a bed, we move slowly, tentatively, like learning each other's bodies anew. The first time we try to be intimate again, I'm overwhelmed by images of her with him. I bolt from the bed, heart pounding, shame and rage colliding. She holds me. We cry. We don't force it. We talk more. We try again. Eventually, the images fade enough for me to focus on her, the woman I love and hate in equal measure. It's a turbulent process, but we persist. And somehow, over the course of a year, that love-hate dynamic shifts into something else. Not naive trust, but a raw, tested bond that acknowledges the past. We talk about renewal, about whether we should move to a different house to escape the memories. We discuss the possibility of marriage counseling or vow renewal ceremonies. Everything feels uncertain, yet filled with potential. Finally, one spring day, I find myself standing in the backyard again, the same spot where I saw him dash away in my socks. Jessica stands beside me, hands clasped. The fence is newly painted, a small symbolic gesture. Sunlight filters through the budding leaves above us, casting dancing patterns of light on the grass. She looks at me. Her eyes are clear, warm, and yet tinted with lingering sorrow. "We've come a long way," she says softly. I nod, my throat tight. We have. We stand in silence, letting the mild spring air envelop us. A bird trills nearby, a gentle note of life moving on. I recall the agony of that morning, my shock, the humiliation, the heartbreak. That memory still exists, but it no longer has the power to consume me. I'm not the same man who left with oatmeal burning on the stove. She's not the same woman who invited a stranger into our bed. We're something else now, maybe stronger, maybe scared, maybe both. She slips her hand into mine. "Do you regret trying again?" I inhale, looking up at the sky. The question stirs a swirl of feelings. Sometimes, I admit, voice rough. Sometimes it hurts too much, remembering. But other times, I see why we did it. She squeezes my hand. "I love you," she whispers. "And I'm so sorry." I look at her, searching for any trace of deception. But all I see is the woman who's bared her soul to me, endured my rage, my suspicion, and my half-hearted attempts to push her away. In that moment, I realize that this is the final step of my revenge. To stand here, with everything we've been through, and still choose to be with her. To make peace not just with her, but with myself. The corner of my mouth lifts, a faint, weary smile. "I love you too," I say, the words surprising me with how genuine they feel. She exhales a shaky breath, tears welling in her eyes. We stand there, hands clasped, sunlight warming our faces. It's not a fairy tale ending. There's no absolute guarantee we'll never unravel again. But there's something more powerful here. The acceptance of our scars, the choice to keep going despite everything. And for the first time, I feel a measure of calm. Like a runner who's finished a brutal marathon, exhausted but proud he made it to the end. Maybe tomorrow, we'll face new challenges. But right now, in this backyard, the memory of betrayal no longer rules us. It's part of our story, not the whole. The sun breaks through the clouds, and a beam of light falls across Jessica's face. She closes her eyes, and a single tear sparkles on her cheek before she wipes it away. I let out a long, slow breath. My chest still hurts, but there's room for something else now. Hope. We linger a moment longer, the hush of spring air wrapping around us. Then I lean in and kiss her softly, gently, without desperation or fear. It's a kiss that acknowledges our broken pieces, yet defies them all the same. She melts against me, arms looping around my neck. In that quiet moment, I realize, maybe we haven't ruined everything after all. We've ruined what we used to be, but that doesn't mean we can't become something new. Stronger, sadder, wiser. And as our lips meet under the gentle sun, I allow myself a sliver of belief in a future I once thought was lost. Asterisk, 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 night falls again. But this time, we face it together. We walk inside, closing the gate behind us. The house still holds memories of heartbreak, but it also holds memories of love. It's no longer a battlefield of resentments. It's simply our home, imperfect but ours. We talk quietly about tomorrow's plans, about taking a trip to the mountains to revisit our old haunts. She suggests packing oatmeal, and I almost laugh at the irony. We move through the hallway, heading upstairs. My gaze flicks to the spot on the couch where we once shared coffee in tense silence. I feel an echo of that old pain. She notices my hesitation, gently squeezes my arm in understanding. We've still got a long road ahead. In the bedroom, she switches on a soft lamp. The bed is neatly made. The pillowcase is fresh. I see the pillow I once clung to in desperation. The smell of lavender lingers in the air, but there's no longer the sense of lurking betrayal. Instead, it feels tentative, hopeful. I sit on the edge of the bed, exhaling. She sits beside me, our knees touching. We don't speak, just breathe in the stillness. Then she slips off her socks, setting them aside. For a moment, I tense, remembering the day that man wore mine. But I remind myself, that's over. This is now. She looks at me, lips parted. Stay with me tonight. My heart thuds. A part of me hesitates, fearful of old ghosts. Another part has yearned for this closeness. Slowly, I nod. Her eyes glisten. She switches off the lamp, and we settle under the covers, facing each other in the soft darkness. The bed feels different than it once did, less certain, more fragile, but also more honest. We lie there, and she rests a palm on my chest, feeling my heartbeat. I wrap an arm around her, breathing in the lavender. She's not the same woman who betrayed me, and I'm not the same man who believed in unbreakable vows. But maybe that's okay. Maybe this is what it means to accept that life is messy and unpredictable. That people stumble and fall, and sometimes they rise again. Outside, a street lamp casts a faint glow through the window. We lie in silence, no words needed. Our bodies speak of old familiarity and new caution. My mind drifts, and for once, the memory of that man in socks doesn't flash behind my eyelids. Instead, I see Jessica's tearful face, her unwavering attempts to mend us, and my own reflection in the mirror, older, wiser, flawed. As sleep creeps in, I feel her warm breath against my collarbone. There's an ache in my chest, a reminder of the brokenness we share. But within that ache, there's also a sense of calm acceptance. I'm here with her by choice. It's not naive or blind trust. It's a decision to see if forgiveness can trump betrayal. In the morning, we'll face reality again. We'll talk more. We'll likely fight some days. We'll try to piece together something worth saving. But tonight, in the hush of this room, we lie together, hearts beating in tandem, forging a new path through the wreckage. And I find that, despite the darkness, I can breathe again. So maybe she's right. I did ruin everything. And so did she. But that doesn't mean we can't rebuild. And as her arms tighten around me in the dark, I realize that for the first time since the day I saw that stranger in my backyard, I'm not running anymore. I'm here. And that, I suppose, is enough.